Hello and welcome to the Wall of Weird podcast. We're back to Smallville, having just recently done the latest episode of Superman and Lois. If you haven't checked that out, please do so. But yeah, tonight's episode, we had a discussion what to do next, and we decided upon the season 2 episode, Red. Bit of a classic episode in most Smallville quarters, from what I can gather. But we'll see. We'll see tonight what our thoughts are on the matter. So let's get straight into it, I guess. Of course, it would help if I'd brought up my notes beforehand. But easy solve. Boom. There they are. Right. Okay. So for those who new to the show, we go into every single scene of the episode. Okay, we describe what happens and we spoil the crap out of it. So if you've not seen this nearly 20-year episode of television and you don't want it spoiling, probably not the best thing to watch. However, if you are an avid Smallville fan and you just want to go along for the ride, welcome.
And it should be noted, 20-year show. We might spawn off into something from season 6. So just throwing that out there. Be prepared.
We might. Yes. Okay. Nothing is safe as far as spoilers go for the whole series. Okay. So if you don't want anything with Smallville spoiling, not just this episode, tootle along. Okay. Right. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. We start on the opening scene in which Clark and Pete buy some class rings. This is just after Chloe has brought up the question of whether or not the ruby that has been used inside the ring is legit. But we've got a scene here when Clark first puts on the ring, and this happens. That's right, red kryptonite. So it turns out Chloe's suspicions about the rock, the ruby, has indeed been correct. So it's been swapped with red kryptonite, which obviously, for any Superman fans out there, know has a particular effect on Clark, on Superman. It turns him into a bit of a bad boy. Guys, thoughts?
Well, my first thought is, do sophomores get class rings? When I was in high school, we didn't even have the option until we were seniors.
We did. We actually got sophomore year.
Oh, so, fascinating.
Yes, and I actually did buy one.
I just don't think it's a British thing.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's just like...
Yeah. When I was at school,
you could tell me.
We never had proms either. Yeah.
No. Like,
we are doing now,
proms are a new
we never
thing
had
over
proms.
here. Yeah, they have proms over here now. I hear kids over here these days talking about prom, and I'm like, what?
I went to one of my proms.
School disco.
It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Neither is a class ring.
I got my class ring, although I kind of don't know why I bothered. But did you get a class ring? So you didn't get a class ring, Driven?
No. Well, I wanted one because, as a senior in high school, and I wanted to be cool like everybody else, and I thought I'd look cool wearing it. And my dad goes, seriously, when are you ever going to wear it afterwards? And when I gave it serious thought, it's like, yeah, I'm not going to care. Why? So.
Well, I think that's why that's why I was glad we got our sophomore year. Because I said, well, we can wear it while we're in high school, and that's cool. Yeah. Because it had our year that we were graduating and all that.
Stay focused, guys.
But Clark's
1 hour.
face.
1 hour.
I love the red K face. It kind of reminds me of Frodo from Lord of the Rings. Like when he's messing with the ring and it's sort of hypnotizing him and he goes into that trance. I love that immediate look in any episode, but especially here, the first one, that first time the red travels up his veins, up his arm, and his eyes glow red. And it's just that moment of, whoa, what did he just take a hit of? Like that. I love it. Like I think Tom Welling has such a great red K face.
It has a bit of an effect on him, and at this particular moment, Lana is showing a new girl around the high school, a girl by the name of Jessie. Shut up, Durban. It's just, don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it.
I was just talking about Jessie when you said that. That's my
Okay. So this new girl, Jessie, has been shown around at the high school. She's not exactly following the dress code, and a teacher calls her up on it, to which Clark intervenes.
And I think that your dress code sucks.
Excuse me?
I mean, come on, it's her first day. Cut her some slack. Besides, I don't think you should be the one giving fashion tips.
Man, I love unfiltered Clark.
I don't know about you, but I personally feel like this scene is just kind of washed away a little bit too easily. Like, if any student had have talked to a teacher, I don't know if it's just because of how big Clark is, that this guy just has second thoughts. But yeah,
I don't know.
We're not exactly in dangerous minds territory of schools here. You know, this isn't like a place where the students should be feared at this point anyway.
Yeah.
And it's just like the fact that this guy just goes and then wanders off, and it's like, no way, that dude is calling him into the office. He's like,
no, my high school, that's
my
3 days
office
detention.
now.
3 days.
Yeah, that's the principal too. That's not just a teacher. That's the principal of the school.
Mr.
That was the principal?
Yeah, and did you see what she was wearing? I mean, it was completely see-through shirt. Yeah, they definitely would not have allowed that. But I will say it's nice for them to finally acknowledge in the show how hot Tom Welling is. So thank you, Jessie, for making note of that.
Okay.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I want to say this though real quick. It's funny because I like starting here the progression of Red Kryptonite, because this is pretty minor and kind of goofy, like some of these things that Clark does. But what I love is as we continue to examine these scenes, it's very cool to watch how this gets more and more intense with him. It's more than just he says stuff unfiltered. Like, it's really cool how this develops. And every time he has Red K, I think they do such a great job with it.
Yeah, it's definitely a steady progression. Dale Strunk says, I feel like everyone wants to say something like this to a teacher at some point.
Yes.
Absolutely. But if you did say something like that to a teacher at some point, you would be getting called to the office. I'm sorry, but you would. Right. Okay. So we move on to the next scene, which sees it's part of the opening, and it sees a U.S. Marshal, such as he is. He's questioning a teenage boy
in a locker room.
Who is in a locker room, who seems to be quite naked, taking a
bath.
I don't really know how this guy got in there.
No,
I don't know why he was let in there. I don't know why he was looking in there.
And wait, why is the team even alone? Where's the coach? Where's the rest of the team?
Where is everyone? He's just, just chilling, listening to the radio, and then this dude comes in, starts questioning him, gets his answer, and then electrocutes him by throwing in the stereo. And like, it's so signposted as well what he's about to do, because he moves the stereo up. That if I was that kid, I'd
be
at least make a grab for it.
Yes.
I'd at least make a grab for it and just launch it. But no, he sits there and watches it go in. So this is a scene for me. I don't know about you, but it feels like it was one of those scenes where you get the final edit and you realize there's a piece of information missing that you didn't put in, and you go back and you do a reshoot and you quickly cobble something together and throw it in. But it's all sketchy. It's a bit weird. I don't know about you guys, but that's just my thoughts on that one.
Yeah, it's not great. So
okay, so but it tells us that someone is after Jesse.
Well, it also says he knows that Jesse's in Kansas, and he knows to you look at the phone records so that he can track her down. So that's the important exposition information that we got from that murder.
Absolutely.
And the U.S. Marshal is more than willing to just murder people.
Yes.
Indeed. As all U.S. Marshals are, I'm sure.
As most characters on this show, apparently.
So Remy Zero kicks us into the opening credits, and then the scene after that is where Jessie introduces herself to Clark. She's clearly giving him the come on, clearly kind of fancies him. Gives him a number, just writes her phone number on his hand. And then Lana comes and makes a comment about the two of them, in which Clark responds with this little comment.
Seems you're making fast friends.
Just trying to make a new girl feel welcome. Don't worry, Lana, I haven't taken my eye off you all day.
You know what's funny here? My opinions aside, it's awesome in this moment because here he's been harboring this entire time, keeping it a secret, and this moment is actually quite glorious for Clark to finally just say, I haven't taken my eye off you all day.
Well, that's actually what I love most about the Red Kryptonite episodes is finally Clark gets all these things off his chest, you know, and it's just very satisfying. I loved a little bit before with Pete and Pete, you know, when he tells Pete that he wants to go to the bar and Pete's like, the day Clark Kent decides to break the rules, I'll be there.
Yes.
But only on the Saturday because he's got his work to do.
And then he says, aren't you married to Lana in your imagination?
Yeah.
Pete was actually funny in this episode.
I was just going to say, this is Pete. He's the fun. I'm just the funny guy.
You know what's weird? Like, because I was thinking that while I was watching this episode, Pete shines in this episode for a multitude of reasons. He's actually funny. He has a very important role. It feels like everything that Pete should have been in the show, he is in this particular episode. Yeah.
He's actually of value in this episode. He's useful. He doesn't do the usual trick of kind of almost ruining Clark's secret and getting someone onto him. He doesn't need saving from some mess that he's gotten himself into. He gives information to the Kents that helps them figure out what's going on with Clark, and then he helps them with it. But we'll get to that when we get to that. So definitely one of the strongest episodes for Pete. Rebecca Ruiz, Pete's best episode, to be honest. It is.
Yes, it is.
I can't think of another one just off the top of my head. Certainly not the Fast and Furious episode.
It's too bad it's his best because I do like Pete. It's just he doesn't, like you said, Chloe takes the position he's supposed to have. It's like they didn't know what to do with him after a while. But I want to like Pete, and I think this is a great episode for him.
Yeah, this is more of what we should have had with him. If we'd have had more of this kind of stuff with Pete, he would have been a much more well-liked character, I think.
I totally agree. Wouldn't have had that Strident Gum commercial. I mean, Strident Gum episode. He wouldn't have had that.
Oh, man. I'd rather he just never came back. Good grief. Man alive. Okay. So, right. So, Clark goes home. And Jonathan sees that he has the ring that he asked him not to buy, or told him not to buy. Now, I can't remember what we've got on this clip, but I'm just going to play it. So here goes.
Clark, that ring costs a lot of money.
And I'm tired of worrying about every nickel and dime around here.
Clark, why don't you go wash up for dinner?
I'm not hungry. Besides, I have chores to do.
Right. So, great clip. There's a moment in this scene that I just love, which is it's when Clark. So Jonathan says that I thought we'd agreed you weren't going to get that ring, and then Clark said, "Well, you kind of made it clear that it was my decision," and then Jonathan says, that's because I assumed you were going to make the right decision. It's like, so basically what Jonathan says goes, and that's that. Yeah. I love the way that Schneider delivers that line. Like, it's common sense that what I say goes. Okay?
Now, I want to know how that conversation would have gone if that wasn't red kryptonite as the jewel. Because either way, Clark got that ring. He spent that money.
Well, yeah.
Either way, that conversation was going to happen. And I'm curious, how would that have gone if Clark wasn't on Red K?
I think that he still would have stood his ground on that it was his choice to make.
Yes.
And I'm with Clark on that. And a lot of parents make that mistake, I think, with their teenagers, is that you need to let them make mistakes. That's how they learn.
Yeah.
So you can't control how they use their own money.
Which I think is where Martha was in this scene.
I'm with Martha.
But the thing where I was kind of against Martha in this scene is Clark was mouthing off. Like, it wasn't just, you gave me this decision and I made it. He didn't say it politely. He didn't say it nicely. Clark was full on disrespect, mouthing off, and Martha just kind of, he's just a teenager.
He's going through his rebellious teenager phase. But I think, in answer to your question, that is the difference. That's how he would have handled it differently. Is that he'd have lost the sass and he'd have made a case for why it was good for him to get the ring, for why it was, because Clark can be pretty persuasive when he's talking to his parents at times. Because when he's got his right mind about him, he's often very good at reasoning things out.
Yeah. It's that Kryptonian side. He gets sharp and he gets on something and he could reason around it.
Yeah, it's in the very beginning of this scene, Jonathan says, you're late to do your chores. You have to do the garage door. And he said, that's going to take 2 seconds. And it's like, yes, thank you for acknowledging that. I mean,
yeah, definitely.
But this is also the first little inkling we get that Clark is not really feeling good about their money situation. And, that he does think about it sometimes. Especially since he's friends with Lex.
Earlier episode where I forget what it was and I forget the context, but I remember they had the bills out. They were saying some numbers and Clark in 2 seconds did the math like he was a calculator. And I wish to show a touch on that more because I'd be more curious about his intelligence and how his brain works because you really do get the idea. Photogenic memory. He can do numbers just like that. But even in that earlier episode where he did the math in 2 seconds, you could tell it is on his mind. He is thinking about it. And so maybe he pushes back some of these more negative feelings and has the reason ahead. But now you have this ring removing that reason and allowing that emotion.
Definitely. Yep, absolutely. Okay, so next scene, we've got Lex finds Lionel doing a spot of renovations in the mansion. Lionel's just kind of got his people in and they're, kitting the place out for him because he's blind and he needs a bit of help with this, that, and the other. When he calls him on it, so when Lex calls Lionel out on it, Lionel walks off, mumbling to himself like a child, guilt-tripping Lex by playing the blind card. We don't have a clip for that particular bit, but
and that's fine because I love Lionel and Lex, but it always annoys me when Lex looks at that person off camera and says, just give him whatever he wants. I don't know why. It's the only time that something Michael Rosenbaum says annoys me, but every time I just look at that and I go, shut up.
Why?
I don't know. Why? I don't know why. I love their dynamic, so I have nothing negative to say overall, but it's just that one moment where he looks off camera and he's like, give him whatever he wants. I'm like,
he's giving in.
No spine. You have no spine. You just laid down the law with your dad, and then you have no spine.
Well, can we talk about the fact that the mansion has how many rooms, and he has to infiltrate Lex's room?
But that makes sense. That's Lionel's personality. That's the way he expresses his dominance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just found it funny because Lionel goes walking off like a petulant child. Yep. As he's walking off, he starts talking, and it's quite clear. But then he's walking out the room, and he's still mumbling away to himself as he go. And I just found it a really humorous moment. But beyond that, it's not. I wouldn't say it's a throwaway scene because obviously it's going to have a payoff later. But it was just a nice little scene between the two. So from there, we get the U.S. Marshal visiting the tavern, where he speaks to the barman, and he's traced a call from the bar to Jesse's boyfriend, and tells the barman that if she should reappear in the bar, to give him a call. So yeah, just not much really to say on that.
Lisa, isn't this the bartender that's in Superman and Lois?
No, it's a different barkeeper.
Oh, it's a different one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a different bar.
The Wild Coyote.
Wild Coyote, yeah. Aims at getting underage drunk. Yeah. Whereas the other bar's a more mature bar.
Yeah, so he knows
Really
they know what they know what this bar is doing, and they don't care. There must be some money placed in hands.
Yeah. There's a few times that crops up in the series though, where this bar clearly ain't quite on the level. But yeah. Anyway,
it's in a different county as well, so it's different. It'll be a different sheriff.
Ooh, ow. Just hurt my neck. Live on air, people. Oh, that cracked. Okay, so Jonathan gets a call from the credit card company. Oh, no, sorry. I'm jumping ahead a bit there. So Clark shows up to Lana's study group and asks her out to the bar. When she says no... When she says no, he tries to get them all to go out, but they're all determined to study.
That's whatever.
And then
so American history, 50%.
It must be a major exam.
Yeah, so like
good students.
Oh, we lost Brian?
Oh,
Brian. Oh no, live on air. We have lost Brian. Oh. Well, he'll be back, but I'm actually proud of Clark in this scene. Sometimes I wonder, does Clark need to set a time once a week and put on a red Kryptonite ring and wear it for about an hour just to get some stuff off his chest? Because I liked when he walked in the door. Lana killed Brian, says Dale Strunk. Oh, man. But I like that when he walks right in the door and just asks her out on a date. You spend all this time between Clark and Lana, and finally it's like, with ease too, without even thinking about it. I'm kind of proud of him in that moment, even if he's on drugs.
It's not even just that he asked out; he has this way about him. Like he's got this sexy. He changes the way he talks, the way he walks, everything to be cool and sexy. And he actually calls her sexy too. So just something that Clark would never.
I like it when your nose crinkles. Yeah.
Brian's not here. Mention Lana drama.
Oh gosh. Well, I would, but I honestly feel like there's no Lana drama in this episode. To me, it's all Clark drama. But I enjoy his drama because it's like finally all this stuff he's held in gets to come out. So it's like, yeah.
All right, Brian's back. It's time to do the flips.
He's the host who pushed all the buttons. So when the guy who pushes the buttons disappears,
yeah, that's
time to worry. I'm just like, what on earth? What just happened? That is freaking me out. I didn't know if all of you'd be still here when I got back
we're here.
or what.
Yeah,
right.
We carried it on.
And for some reason, it didn't boot us. So
technical difficulties, people. These,
Rebecca Ruiz really likes Clark in Red K. Got a little smiley face with hearts for eyes.
Okay. So just to get back on track, we did have a clip, which is quite amusing. So I'm going to play it if I can find the flipping thing. Right. Here we go. So Clark's gone to the bar. He's trying to convince them all to come out and to go to the tavern. But they all want to stay behind and study. And then he does this.
Did you know that Chloe had a birthmark on her cheek?
No, she doesn't.
Not that cheek.
That shouldn't crack me up, but it cracks me up.
I mean,
man.
If most guys had that power, I think they would do the same thing.
Well, you got to think about it. So in season 1, when his X-ray vision first started working and he fell off that rope and looked right into the girls' locker room, and he's been learning not to look. And now his inhibitions are completely gone, and that lesson gone with it, apparently.
Well, because what
and he was
holds him
checking
back
both
is that...
of them out as well. Yeah. And as though Peter doing that's going to, like, you know, stop him from looking.
Oh, man. But at least he could get his attention for a second. Gosh.
Yep.
Invasion of privacy. Yeah, because he told Pete that he didn't want to invade people's privacy when he found out in duplicity.
But also think what you just said triggered this invasion of privacy. This is exactly what I said earlier, where the Red K, it's worse and worse and worse. So I made the joke, once a week he should put on the red kryptonite ring for about an hour just to let off some steam. But the red kryptonite ring has been on too long. And so now it's gone from him just being a little rude and disrespectful, and he's invading some privacy here. So this is like as funny as it is, it's actually kind of sad, especially for his character, because you're really seeing the corruption of the red kryptonite set in and how much deeper it's messing with his personality.
But you realize how good he is on a normal basis on this episode.
Yes, and that's also a good comparison. That's the other great thing about this episode is you really get to see how good he is with his abilities when you see how bad he can be.
Yep. That's what always hit me the hardest with this one.
Yeah. This one and the one where he lost his powers in season 1 are two strong episodes of that show. It's Clark's heart, not his powers, that make him special.
Yeah, because most people, they would probably, it's very easy to be corrupt and evil and do really, because you could get whatever you want, and that's what kind of, as we go through this episode.
Yep.
Okay, so from there, Jonathan gets a call from the credit card company to verify charges that have been made on his card. Cut to Clark.
Does your wife
in the
keep
bar.
them in a jar? Boom! I wish you did that.
Cut to Clark in the barn with a shed load of new toys.
Where did you get all this? Discount Eddie's in Metropolis. Open all night.
Open all night.
A great delivery on that.
A jet ski in the barn, Nicola. Was it a jet ski or a canoe or something?
Landlocked Kansas. Landlocked Kansas.
Landlocked.
You got
There's a lake. Yeah. You know, they go to the lake.
Yeah, that's true. They got Crater Lake.
But I was looking at one of the things that Clark really wants, and apparently a jet ski is on that list.
He's bought a jet ski. He's got police sirens like whizzing around place. Yeah. And then he says this when his parents quiz him out on it. He says this. He says, "I just want all the same cool stuff that everyone else has." Who else? In Smallville is packing a jet ski.
You know he's thinking Lex Luthor, right? It's got to be he's comparing his situation to Luthor's, because you're right. Nobody else has all of that kind of crazy stuff. It's got to be he loves Lex's toys and he wants some.
Yeah, and
he's got a $2,000 silk coat as well.
Yes.
It's just like I don't really picture Clark at school getting jealous of all the other kids who are wearing silk shirts and coming in on their jet skis and stuff. It's like,
but he hasn't. But if you notice, he isn't completely corrupt yet, because he used the credit card to buy it. He didn't just steal the stuff, which he could have easily stolen it.
Which he did in season 3. I mean,
exactly.
But that was 3 months corruption. He was breaking ATMs and taking the money.
He still stole from his parents. He stole from his parents.
But I see what Nicole is saying.
He's betrayed their trust.
Well,
not only has he stole, but he's betrayed their trust.
In his mind, it's not, though. You know, it's just a credit card.
Wow. Yeah. I'm sure in Charles Manson's mind he did nothing wrong. Right. Okay. So Jonathan rails at him, and things are starting to get a little bit more out of hand. Clark's really giving the sass, and quite frankly, he's just not going to stick around to hear what Jonathan's got to say.
You can talk all you want. I'm out of here. Clark, come back here!
And then his stunt double drives off on the bike.
Yes.
So
now, why the motorcycle other than to look cool? Because if I was Superman and I was on red kryptonite, I'd be zooming.
He wants to look cool. I mean, look at the clothes that he's wearing. Also note that he was wearing the green shirt, which is not one of his primary colors.
Yep.
You know, because he's getting corrupted. And yeah, he's got fancy clothes. So he definitely cares about his image more than you realize. And I wonder if that even comes into play when he puts on his Superman persona. You know, that he likes to have a certain image.
Yep. Mercenary X84 said Clark plus Red K equals Brightburn, which I actually liked Brightburn because it reminded me of how special Superman is. Not because that movie was inherently good or anything, but I love seeing how good Superman truly is. And so, yeah, it makes this episode more interesting to watch. And, you know, the color scheme change as he gets on that motorcycle caring about his image. And look at my sunglasses. You notice how he swipes Lionel's sunglasses later?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, yes.
It's not quite Brightburn, though, because Brightburn's just gone straight off evil. Yeah.
That's true.
He's still got, it's
That's
just
Jonathan's
inhibitions here at the
motorcycle,
moment.
too. Sorry. Jonathan's motorcycle, by the way.
Yes.
Which they did show us earlier, so it didn't come out of nowhere. So that was...
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they used that as well to demonstrate the fact that Jonathan had his rebellious teenage years, because that was one of the justifications. You know, you're talking about Martha kind of just letting Clark go without kind of railroading him. It's like she calls Jonathan out on the fact that he demonstrated similar behavior when he was a teenager, and he didn't have the excuse of red kryptonite. Yeah. So next up, I do want to say, by the way, that stunt double is the worst stunt double I've ever seen, because he's so obviously
and they keep
double.
using him.
Yeah. They use him in is it Exodus as well?
Yep.
Yeah, but
driving away on the road there. There's Clark, and then the faraway shot. Who's that dude?
Yeah. as soon as he puts on the red K, well, it's the Smallville go-to color in it. As soon as anyone goes bad, they start wearing black. So yeah. Okay. So Clark picks up Jessie on the side of the road as her dad is trying to talk her into being less conspicuous. He's not doing a very good job.
Jessie. Jessie, I need you to...
Because she leaves with Clark anyway. So yeah.
Her outfits crack me up.
Bad boy, what you gonna do? That's all I could think of in that scene.
I've got to say, from the guy's perspective, or certainly the straight guy perspective, I don't actually find Jessie all that attractive, to be honest.
I didn't.
She's not pushing my buttons. Yeah,
I'm gonna say something that you guys are all gonna hold over my head for the rest of the time we do this. Lana is far more attractive than Jessie.
It's just. But that is what I'm thinking. Like, I mean, I know it sounds like a bit of one of those shallow comments. Why are we now talking about how attractive a woman is? But it's like, given how much deep down Clark genuinely is like in love with Lana, and how much me and Durban are not. Even me and Durban are saying, no, she's well hotter than Jessie. I don't get why Clark would be so drawn to this woman, even on the red K, especially when he's making moves on Lana right now.
Maybe it has something to do with, you know, him having no inhibitions at this point. Lana has inhibitions, right? And Jessie doesn't. So when you have Jessie and Clark, who both don't seem to have inhibitions, like maybe Clark is drawn to that freedom. So inside, he loves Lana, so it's easier for him to talk to her. But maybe the fact that Lana has her inhibitions and Jessie doesn't, maybe that's why he's kind of drawn to her. I don't know.
Yeah, Clark wants to have fun, guys. Jessie's his little fun toy, really. Because he sees, she wants to go and do fun things too, and so they can be
Mercenary
bad boys and bad girls
gonna
together.
hold this over my head.
Yes, I will hold this over your head for the rest of the time we do this.
Yeah, I'm going to get a T-shirt made.
yeah. I can't wait.
I'm going to get a T-shirt made that says "Durban loves Lana more than Jesse."
I guess it's not a lie. It wouldn't be a T-shirt conveying a lie.
It's going to be hashtag Team Lana.
No, that's a lie.
Right.
You're trying to trigger me now.
I think we should all get one. Yeah. Not just you, we should all have one.
Oh, Dale Strunk trying to be hilarious there in the comments. Lana lover. Oh, my goodness.
I think we all know mine and Durban's T-shirt's going to be Team Chloe. So anyway, moving on.
So what's mine?
Well, yours is clearly Team Clark.
You like them both? Team
Lisa
Clark
is right. I'm Team Clark.
Clearly. Obs.
Oh, man.
It's like both of you there at the bottom thirsting over Clark every time we do a Smallville thing. It's just gets sickening. Come on. Moving on.
Oh, we tone it way down. Way down.
Man. The things me and Durban have to put up with in our private Facebook group. I tell you.
Yep. Dale,
way down.
Dale, you know the answer to the question, Dale. You know the answer to the question.
You should see what Lisa and I do in our own private messages.
No. Moving on. Next scene.
Next scene. Yes.
So Clark drops Jesse off school at school, flirts a bit more with Lana. Then his dad arrives and tells him to get in the truck. And Clark doesn't want to get in the truck.
I am your father, and I just told you to get in the truck.
You're not my father. You never were.
You know what's awesome about that scene? Is not just when he hits Jonathan, but there's that moment where Clark pauses. He hesitates, like he wants to go back and help his dad, and then he brushes it off and goes forward. That is a great moment where you see like the battle within and the corruption is winning.
Mm-hmm.
That was really harsh what he said to Jonathan. I was surprised that Clark would even think that thought, but I guess he's thinking that because he's not his bio dad. I mean, I get that part of it, but
yeah.
That was that's where you really see, wow, he's really gone off the deep end now, but he's still going to school. So
but there's still some idea of keep my life in schedule, and yet
no. He's going to school because Jesse's there and Lana's there.
Yes,
that's it. He's got one
the
thing
two
on
girls
his
in his eye right now are at.
I don't think he's going to class.
You're right. I agree with that.
So,
well, because that's where all the social stuff happens. So you gotta.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus, this is the part where Peter realised there's something really wrong with Clark here. Because he'd never do that.
And again, back to this is one of Pete's best episodes, because when Pete runs to help Jonathan up, you see that shared concern and that shared burden. And I wish they found a way to keep this going for Pete. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jonathan and Martha talk about what's just happened, and he says that the feelings must have been bubbling away for some time, and she suggests speaking to Pete, which again it doesn't often happen, really. Yeah, because we've seen in the past that, even when Clark was considering bringing Pete in to the team dynamics, Jonathan was kind of like, no, just keep him out of it, keep him safe, and so now it's become, certainly from this episode, it's become that actually no, Pete is an ally. Pete is someone they can go to bring in, but like I say, here, and we don't really see it much anywhere else. They don't tend to go running off to Pete from time to time to bring him in on the action. This seemed to be a rare incident, but I like it. I like that they can do that. I like that he is, in on it, so to speak.
For sure. It's nice to finally have a friend that knows. I was very excited about that when I saw that finally one of his friends knows.
Yep.
So,
but Clark's not shy anymore. Also, with Red Kryptonite, they noticed his friends. What happened to the shy Clark?
Yeah.
So,
what planet is this guy from?
I love that line too. What planet is he from, and what did he do with Clark? It's like, Chloe. In a few years, you're gonna understand how loaded that question is.
Well, Clark visits Lana and tells her he has feelings for her. Says he's willing to tell her everything. And yeah, let me just show this clip.
Is this supposed to be some all new Clark Kent?
Well, that depends. Do you like him?
Wow, there it goes. We're done with the shy Clark. Kalana now exists.
Can
she
I just
melts
say?
too. Oh God, every woman knows. That was such a great scene.
It suddenly turned into an alpha Clark.
Do you know what jumped out at me most in this scene though?
What was it?
It was actually that when Clark says to Lana that he's decided is telling the truth. He's decided is going to be clean about things. The first thing she does is say, well, "What happened during that tornado?"
Oh, it's really bothering
We'll get
her.
to that later.
And it's like, so it just shows. But it shows there that she's not dropped that is something that is still, you know.
Let me ask you, if this happened to you, you were in a tornado and you somehow survived and you had this memory of someone saving you, and then they basically told you were crazy and hallucinating, that didn't happen, would that drive you a little bit crazy?
My opinions are too strong to answer.
Just a little crazy, like
I almost I don't know.
I'm saying what I'm saying is I'm glad the writers threw that in there because it is a callback to a moment. Like if this is where you came in to the show, you know, it's a lot of fans. They don't start the pilot. They wander in and boom, this is the first episode they watch. There's no real reason that line of dialogue has to be there. If they're gonna explore Lana's feelings towards, you know, well, what happened in the tornado further on down the line, well, then you can bring it up then. But to just throw in that little line of dialogue there, it just you know, if you're a fan of the show, if you have been following it, it does tell us that this isn't something that is over for her.
Yeah.
This is still something that is shaping her character and shaping her.
And something else very cool is Clark says his answer to that is, you know, he said, "Ask me anything and I'll tell you the truth about anything." So she asks that question and he answers, "We'll get there."
Okay.
So even though he has no inhibitions, we're seeing he's still got control. Like there's at least some value there where like he's more corrupted now than he was at the beginning of the episode. And when she asks, I mean, basically she's asking for his secret. He still has enough control to withhold it.
Well, the thing is, inhibition. The whole point of inhibitions is that it's they keep you from doing what you want to do. So what we learn from this is that he does not want to tell her. Not really.
Right.
Deep down, he doesn't want to tell her. Yeah.
He thinks he's going to be rejected.
Yeah. So his inhibitions are down.
That's true.
He's still not telling her, and that's because actually deep down he doesn't want to.
But he does want to tell her how he feels, and he does notice that she has feelings for him, and it was so great to finally get that out there because they've been dancing around that for more than a season now. And
it is very sad that the dance continues after this episode, but I could get more opinions on that later. But I fully agree with you that that's the fun. That's why I say he should wear it once a week for an hour. Get this stuff off his chest. Have the once a week for an hour. Be brave, bold. Say those things he wants to say. Then take it off before it gets any worse.
Problem is that we'll find out later.
Yeah. The thing is, once he's got it on, you don't want to take it off.
Oh no,
that's the problem.
That's why he should never even put the darn thing on. It's just
he'd have to go in a room with Pete while Pete's holding the lead box, and then the moment that hours up, right? Go on, take it off. So,
but if he knew that was going to happen, Clark on red kryptonite probably wouldn't stay in the room for that hour.
No. Super speed. Boom, he's gone. That's it. So, Dale, Strug, who are your favourite Smallville characters? Aside from Clark, and I bet Brian and Durbin will say Lana. Clearly you're smoking crack, Dale. My favourite of the I've got two, Chloe and Lex. Lex is just like, as far as I'm concerned, Rosenbaum is just like, he will always be Lex. He's the one to beat, and I don't think he ever will be. And Chloe is just like, yeah, it's Chloe.
Yeah.
It's just...
For me, it's the 3 L's and Chloe. So that would be Lionel, Lex, and Lois. I love those characters a lot.
You meant Lana.
I said Lois.
Yeah, Lionel would be my third. My third.
I love
one
Lionel.
Well.
My God, she's awesome.
Yeah,
Lionel's so good.
Yeah.
Right.
And
my
really
would definitely be the Luthers.
Yeah.
really tough choice for me. I definitely Chloe's up there, Lois is up there, Lex and Lionel.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Don't forget Shelby.
But for me, Clark is like up here, and the next character is like down here.
No, it's Lex. It's without Lex and Lionel, this show just would. It wouldn't be.
You're right.
It just
You're right.
So,
I agree, and I thought
anyway.
that the first time I watched it, I said, what's really interesting is this Lex character and how it makes it not be a teenage drama.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes it not be a CW show.
Yes.
Right.
It's a very interesting character.
Absolutely. Right. Next scene is Chloe tells Pete about how the ring makers substituted Red K for rubies just after Pete tells her that Clark's parents are really concerned about him. So he suddenly twigs, holy crap, he's wearing red kryptonite. I'd got to get my ass over to the Kent farm right now. And he just steals the big ass chunk of red kryptonite.
It's amazing that this high schooler was able to figure this out.
Yeah.
It is.
She's impressive.
She's a smart cookie. She's a smart
Chloe's
cookie.
awesome. I love Chloe.
It must be pretty rare though, because it's not like green kryptonite that's everywhere.
But Chloe's the only. Chloe's the only one who's been. Take it away, Lisa. Go.
They mentioned they found it in Hobbs Pond as well, so perhaps that was the only place where they had the red kryptonite vein. But I was just thinking, is Hobbs named after one of the showrunners or writers? Like Low Bridges and other places, the fields and things.
Well, I know there's a Hobbs Bay in Metropolis in Superman lore. The Hobbs Bay is always mentioned. I don't know if that's a call to anything, but yeah. So Chloe obviously is the only one in this town who's actually cottoned on to the fact that the meteor rocks are, creating freaks and whatnot. So it stands to reason that she will have been on the lookout for wherever this stuff
she
is.
has a wall of weird.
Yeah.
She's linked that. Yeah.
And that's why she has found the red K. So that's what I'm going to say anyway. Just realize.
Mercenary X84 said, I love that Chloe line. Clark would have to be on drugs to be on drugs. That is really a great line.
Definitely. Okay.
Does Chloe forget that they're in Smallville and strange things happen all the time?
Yeah, I just guess she's assuming Clark is going through a phase. I don't know, because nobody seems to take it seriously except for Pete and the Kents. They're like, and Lana, who, this is all
Lex.
happening too. Well, Lex, yes. It seems those that have a good idea of Clark know there's something really wrong here.
Yeah.
Chloe does. I don't know. It's confusing.
Anyway, Pete goes to see the Kents to tell them what's been going on.
The longer he's exposed to the green meteors, the worse he gets. If the same is true with the red rock, God help us all.
We're gonna find him. We gotta get that ring back.
How are we gonna do that? Like you said, if he doesn't want to do something, we're not strong enough to force it.
God help us all.
Scariest line.
Yes, for sure.
This scene, though, really makes me love Jonathan even more. Because as far as he's concerned, Clark is his son.
Yeah.
Okay, and it doesn't matter how powerful he is. And we'll see it at the start of season 3 as well, you know, when he makes the deal with Jor-El. But it doesn't matter how powerful Clark is. He just knows he has to do something. He knows he's powerless. He knows that if Clark wanted to, could just snuff him out like that. But it just doesn't matter to him, because as far as he's concerned, Clark is his son. And I just love his attitude in this scene. Like, even Martha's like proper, what can we do? We can't do it. And he's just like, don't matter. I've just got to walk into that den and do whatever I can.
There's only one way to stop the impossible.
Yep.
We'll figure it out.
So I do really like that scene.
I think that scene gives you a feeling of urgency and how grave the situation is. This is really dangerous for everyone, not just for the Kents, but
yeah, definitely. Okay, so Clark goes to see Lex to ask if he can borrow the Ferrari.
Not like I'm going to drive it off a bridge. All you have to ask yourself is, who's more responsible than Clark Kent?
I love that line. It's not like I'm gonna drive it off a bridge.
I just want to rock a world.
oh my God, yeah, rock her world.
Who says that? Who says? Oh man.
Even Lex goes, rock her world.
Yeah. It's like, the thing is, this line. But it's really good that they put these kind of cliched, cringy lines into Clark's mouth when he goes bad boy, because he isn't that guy.
No.
So like because he is a genuinely good guy and he always makes the moral choices and whatnot, when he loses his inhibitions and decides to go bad, he's got no precedent for it. So it's like he's playing bad. So the fact that he looks like someone trying to be bad makes sense, because he would. That's what he would look like. And he would come out with stupid comments that he'd probably heard in a film or TV show somewhere. It's like, oh, rock her world. And Lex is like, yeah.
Don't all the girls like fast cars and money?
Yeah. It's just, this interesting little thing about Lex here, though, is that he does make an observation about Lana, which, you know, for those season 5 and season 6 fans out there, it does key us into the fact that Lex pays attention to her.
Yep.
You know, he knows her as a person, as a character, because he says that, you know, Lana never struck me as the sort to be impressed by a Ferrari. And it's like, so he's aware of who she is as a person, which, like I say, feeds into things much later down the line, but we won't go there because we don't need one of Durban's 10-minute rants. So
Lex's interest is also peaked as well. I don't know if it's this scene or the later one when he's been to visit the Kents, but if you knew what I was capable of, it's like, what are you capable of?
Well, you can tell that something. I know we're jumping ahead now, but I can't help it. Lex is waiting for that, waiting for Clark to say something like that, because Lex knows there's something special, something different about Clark.
But I mean, we'll get there when we get there.
Right.
Much to Lex's credit, we'll get. Yes, he doesn't take his opportunity. That's all I'll say. You know.
Yeah.
Like,
Still
we
a
have
good
these
time for Lex.
We have these conversations all the time, you know, about if Clark had just come clean, would Lex be different? You know, and a lot of people say no, he wouldn't, and it's like, well, actually, Clark he's going to him here, and he's kind of saying, well, all right, I'm prepared to show you things. And Lex doesn't take him up on it. He instead realizes something's up with this dude. He's not himself. I'm going to Jonathan. So all credit to the dude,
Yeah.
We'll talk about
there's genuine goodness in him.
Yeah, there is, but do you really think that he would keep that up after he knew?
Well, that's a question for an alternate
down the
timeline.
line.
But
Yes,
man,
we could have that discussion. That's going to be
years, that's years down the line. But anyway, so all I'm saying is, in the moment, he makes the right choice. He makes the good decision. Right. Okay. So this is a big scene here. So Clark takes Lana to the tavern, to the grimiest, dirtiest bar
Wild Coyote
in town. Yeah. It's grisly.
You know what's funny? This is where Jess is the most covered. Like, her body is the most covered with clothes. Unlike any other time. This is where she is the most covered is at the bar.
Yeah. At school, it's a striptease. When she's out on the night, at a club, at a bar,
a lot of older men, maybe that's why.
Completely covered up. Yeah.
So, more cautious.
But I genuinely sympathize with Lana in this scene. To be quite honest, I really just wanted her to slap Clark in this scene. But after a while, she gets sick of his shenanigans, especially when he decides to go off dancing with Jesse, which again feeds into the whole thing I was saying before, which is that even with his inhibitions gone, would Clark really do this to Lana, to the love of his life? I don't know. I question that. But either way, he gets into a bit of trouble, and some guys decide to pick a fight with him and seriously regrets it.
Anybody else?
Anybody else? That's fine in that episode.
I love it. So that is, I think, the worst date ever.
Yeah, probably. Well, Clark is having a great time. Like, this is awesome, but poor Lana this is the worst night of her life. Up to no.
Well,
no,
he does say later, best night ever.
Yes, but I appreciate the fact, not very often we get to see Tom Welling in a sleeveless shirt, so we appreciate that.
I thought it was goofy. I get why he did it, his whole image thing. And he's muscular, so he could pull it off. But it's funny because he walked in. I was watching the episode this morning with my wife, and I just looked at her and I said, I don't know why. It just looks weird to me to see him in a sleeveless shirt like that.
I think the common term for something like that is wife beater. It's like, he looks like a wife beater in that shirt. It's got to be said. But again, it feeds into that whole thing that this is not how a bad boy dresses. This is how Clark's perception of a bad boy dresses.
Yes.
This is all about how Clark perceives, being a bad boy is all about, because he isn't a bad boy. He's never been down that road. So for him, the fantasy that has always been in his head, deep in the recesses of his mind, looks something like this, because he's not that guy. So I do find it quite amusing. But
there's enough of him to go around.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. That lion is in here. I forgot about that. Oh man.
That's also into that persona, and you also realize, he has to pretend that he's not strong all the time, right? And so I feel like in this moment, it's like, he doesn't have the inhibition, so he's like, I'm just gonna take these guys out. Yeah. Like, this is what he always wants to do, right? I mean, I can understand that.
Oh man, man, if I had his powers, I'm telling you, that bar scene would be more than a regular occurrence.
There's a reason God did not make us Kryptonians. Oh, man.
When I'm God, everyone dies.
But now Clark is seriously physically hurting people. Where this is the first time he's done that.
Well, like Brian said earlier, though, like he has a hard time seeing, even with his inhibitions gone, and his deepest heart, he loves Lana. But here he is kissing another girl in front of Lana, so he's beating up people in public. What I do? Well, he's beating up people in the bar, like so. His powers are being exposed. He's kissing another woman in front of Lana, the love of his life. It's like this corruption is really starting to take hold.
Absolutely. So Clark goes back home, starts packing the Ferrari, and his parents try to tell him about the ring, but Clark ain't sticking around for a $20 a week allowance. He shows some real resentment at being held back.
So that's why you got to take that thing off right away.
Take it off? I just wish I would have found it sooner. Hey, if you guys want to waste your life in this mud hole, that's your problem. I'm through being poor.
The trunk is in the front. That freaks me out every time.
Another piece of farm machinery.
I think it's pretty. What strikes me, to be honest, is that the amount of work that Clark must do around the farm, and he only gets a measly $20 a week.
They don't have a lot of money.
Hell?
They're poor.
Like slave
they
labor.
Barely keep the farm going. It would be gone if it wasn't for Clark.
Didn't they say in a later episode that he does the work of 10, farm hands or something like that?
Yes,
he does.
Yeah.
I'm just another piece of equipment to keep your little farm running.
So that's $2 a week then. Times by 10.
But it's like it is. It looks bad for Jonathan here. It's got to be said. Everything I said about before, how he's such an awesome dad, and I really love him in that scene. Everything in this scene kind of says that actually this guy should be had up on some kind of child slavery charges. There's something dodgy going on at that farm, I tell you.
Except for the fact it takes Clark 2 seconds to do all of this. So we're basing this on mortal man, where $20 a week for back-breaking labor is awful. For Clark, he could probably do this for $5 a week because it's that easy for him,
Right.
Yeah.
What's the amount of time? So how much is he actually getting paid per hour? Think about it that way.
Yeah.
Plus remember, Nixon's mentions that in sort of like, in season 1, season 2, or you're keeping him on your farm to do his chores and run the farm.
Yeah. So what's the minimum wage in America? Do you have a minimum wage?
It is going to get to be about $15 an hour.
We'll see, but
we'll see.
I think you have to realize that he's not an employer; he's part of the family. And a lot of family farms, they have the kids work on the farm. They don't necessarily even get an allowance. It's just. And that's why they used to have a lot of kids in the South, because they didn't have the machinery to do the work, right? So they needed the work. They used to have like 10 kids so that they had farm hands. So you can't really call it slave labor because he's part of the family and it's just an obligation.
And for him, it's not even labor. There is no labor involved.
Slave labor is the wrong terminology. Let's say... What would be the term? It's just he's taking liberties. Let's say it's just like he's got this little superpowered being on his farm that he's keeping to himself because he can get all the farm chores done.
Well,
in actual fact,
but he has him do chores for reasons. It's not just to keep the farm. It's for his character and for
chores makes
learning how to do his
honest.
abilities.
Yeah. Makes a man honest.
Of course, I am just being intentionally douchey. It's. I bet
the guys on Subterranea get paid more than he does.
Oh gosh,
those were actually slaves.
That's a bad.
I think I've only seen that episode twice. I skip it most of the time.
It's not good.
I only get to the end, and we know why, but that's for another time.
Yeah. It's not a good episode. Right. Okay. So, can you hear that?
It's not. I didn't do it.
All right. Okay. Never mind. All right. So Clark visits Lex again to ask for the Ferrari a little bit longer. So I'm gonna need the Ferrari a little bit longer, Lex. When he starts to divulge certain things, Lex becomes very interested.
You can come with me.
Nobody's using the penthouse in Metropolis. We could stay there.
Clark Kent and Lex Luthor. I like the sound of that.
But it's all a ruse. It's all a ruse. He's not gonna take him to the penthouse. He's actually gonna run straight to Jonathan and say, "This is your son." So
I love how
I did say, I need to clear a few things up in the office first, and then I'll join you. Yeah.
So Clark is still very naive when the red kryptonite doesn't help that situation.
Yep. Well, it's not the limitless pill, right? So it's not gonna like give him all that intelligence. So it's. I like Lex. I like how Lex played into Clark's fantasy to get Clark to stick around, and like Brian said earlier, it goes to Jonathan. Like, this would be the perfect example for Lex to go, there's something wrong with Clark. I could take advantage of this and figure out what I've always wondered about him, but he doesn't. I love this Lex Luthor.
Yeah, he's really worried about what's going on with him, because if he is capable of all that, then maybe he also recognizes that it could be dangerous. That he could see in that he's seeing his behavior is really off. You know what I want to see that we never got to see is right after Clark has no red kryptonite and he goes to talk to Lex. I would love to hear Lex go, Clark, what on this earth was that? And however Clark would explain that to Lex.
Mercenary X84 just said, I just realised that both Clark and Zod Lex did the shoot the hand in the Luthor Mansion thing. Which I just... Yeah.
When we get there, that is probably my favorite scene in this episode, and I'll get more to that when we get there.
Yeah. It's just like I known they both did that, but it just occurred to me, they do both do it in the same room, don't they? So
except Clark's on red kryptonite. So.
Yeah. Well, they're both on something because there's Lex is on Zod and Clark is on red kryptonite.
I'm just saying. Lex wasn't on Zod yet. He was just powered.
We'll get there when we get there. Right. Okay. So, Chloe asks Lana about her date, and that obviously didn't go too well. And then Lana pours a cup of coffee for the U.S. Marshal. That just tells us that he's there now. He's on the peripheries. He's made his way to Smallville.
He's looking into the Ferrari because he saw Clark left.
He's got the
Ferrari.
license plate.
So so we know that that's going to lead him. Yeah, that's how he gets to the mansion.
I will bring it up later on as well. All I'm going to say right now is this guy is one speedy ass mofo.
Yes, and I know exactly how you're going to bring it up later, and I will second you when we get there.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So. Lex goes to see Mr. Kent. Yeah. What's going on here? Right, yeah. Lex goes to see Mr. Kent and tells Jonathan about Clark hiding in the mansion. So
Clark's my friend. I'd hate to see his relationship with you fall apart.
I appreciate your concern, but Clark and I can work this out.
Then why is Clark hiding out at the mansion?
I love when Lex burns Jonathan. Because Jonathan always thinks the worst of Lex, and this was a really good burn that Jonathan deserved. And it also brings up to the fact that how Lex idealizes the Kent family. And when you're talking about why did he not take advantage of it, is because he really wants to become part of the Kent family. It's not just about Clark's secret, but he idealizes them, and he was always fighting for them to keep their relationship.
It's funny because you kind of wonder how much does Jonathan get in his own way? Because, Jonathan is the first to admit he's got an anger problem. He's the first to admit his imperfections. And you got to think about it. Like, it's a lot of Jonathan getting in his own way that I think hinders this Clark-Lex friendship. Like, could Lex have changed? Could he have been a Kent? but you kind of have this distrust of Jonathan and this fear and anger of Jonathan, and he's constantly stumbling over it. So I agree. It's a nice little burn that Lex gives here, but it's also kind of a respect burn, you know?
Yeah, I think the only way would be for Lex to let go of the life that he has completely.
Yes, which, as we find out in season 5, that's a very, very difficult idea, even in his best moments, for him to wrap his head around.
Yeah, but do you think he'd become a farmhand on the Kent farm for $20 a week?
Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
He does for a short period of time.
He does at one point, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yep.
3 days or something.
I do kind of want him to go after he delivers that line.
I like that.
Right. Okay. So Clark is shooting pool at the mansion, at the just chilling out, shooting some pool. When Lionel comes in, and he confronts Lionel.
Clark steals his sunglasses.
Yep, steals his sunglasses, gets all up in his face. And then the US Marshal comes in to question Clark, pulls a gun on him, and regrets it instantly when he gets love tapped. Which is great. It's we only just mentioned the love tap fairly recently, and now we seem to be watching all the episodes in which there is a love tap. So our next episode has to be the one in which he does it to Lois, which I know Nicole is one of your favourites.
No,
you love that
no,
episode.
we're not watching that one. No.
Yes,
no. No.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
No.
We have to watch all the Love Tap episodes. It's
that's
a
the
Love
one
Tap
episode
trilogy.
I said I wouldn't watch.
Think of it as the unofficial Love Tap trilogy. Okay, it's just
if it was any other episode, I would be on one.
We've got to do it. We've got to do it. Okay, right. So, U.S. Marshal gets love tapped, and it turns out he was after some evidence from Jesse's father that a company is willing to pay $1 million for. But anyway, that scene that I just talked about, we've got a clip, which is right here.
You've got a lot to learn about tact, young man, but you speak your mind. That's good. It'll take you far.
Oh, I'm going to the top.
And another one right here.
Is that supposed to scare me?
How'd you do that?
You've got no idea who you're dealing with.
And another one right here.
It's a great idea. But who needs you?
Love Tap. Come on,
baby. Should do it to Love Shack, baby.
But you know, when he shoots his hand, take that in context of Veritas and how Lionel has already been taken to that barn, to the doctor's barn, and in his blind state felt the octagon keyhole. Now put it all into context, and it's like all the obsession Lex has over the Kents. Now Lionel's going to start to have that obsession born right here in the context of Veritas.
Well, I'm not even going to go with we can have another discussion on the season 7 retcon, okay? Because in this scene, to me, it's very clear that it seems that Lionel does not know Clark. Because he seems like he's just being introduced to him for the first time.
Well, he knows of Clark because even without Veritas, he still helped with the adoption. Yeah, so he was still part of that. Yeah. So, like, he knows of Clark at the very least.
Yes, but he doesn't know him.
Why is Martha and Jonathan, this such a lovely couple, brought up such an an arrogant son? Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, there's a point there as well regarding Clark. He mentions to Lionel, go live on the farm. They've got a spare room. They need the money. Funny. So he's still got that money thing in his mind, that his parents do need the money.
Yes, but John. So what we find out is that Lionel knows very little about Clark. He knows,
it's true.
Yes.
But even in the Paradox context, he knew very little about Clark.
He's interacting with people as though he knows very little about them. That doesn't mean that, like, Lionel never puts all his cards on the table. It's like
Lionel has that file on Clark. In his
we never know. we never get to find out the precise moment at which Lionel is no longer blind. And it's like...
I have a theory, but it's only a theory. He's that good at keeping it a secret.
We can't know, because he always keeps his cards close to his chest, and he's such a good liar, it's become so innate in him. So to me, like, the whole Veritas thing doesn't bother me, because, it's clearly...
That's retcon, yeah.
It's clearly a retcon, but
it works.
Other than a window that miraculously appears out of nowhere that was never there before, the rest of the stuff
they break many times.
Yeah, they break many times. The rest of the stuff can work
Arrival.
for me. So, yeah.
I don't know.
Stuff works,
I want to. We don't have enough time today, but I do want to talk about that. I have a lot of thoughts on that. I'm going to just skip over that.
Rebecca Ruiz, Hypnotic.
Yes.
Is that the one? Yes, it is. It's an episode that I quite like, and it's an episode that Nicole absolutely hates. So we're going to put a poll up on the channel at some point to say which episode we're going to do next. Hypnotic will be in that poll, so please go ahead and vote for Hypnotic, because if you keep your eye out on the community tab for the channel, because I think that's where we'll start putting votes up. Each one of us will pick an episode, and then you guys can vote on which of those 4 episodes we'll do. That sounds like a good way to do it. I think.
Yeah.
So my next episode that I'm going to throw into the pot is going to be Hypnotic. So
Hypnotic is the only episode that I won't rewatch.
Right.
Until she has to do it for this.
Nicola and I are going to make 50 fake personas and I'll vote it down.
So am I. Right. Anyway, moving on. So, we've had the love tap, and Clark
that
goes
was
to
just
see...
my chance. I wasn't even... I forgot that happened in this episode.
Clark goes to see Jesse to get the discs, and the US Marshal arrives. What? What?
Yeah, how did he get there? So where did his super speed come from?
I'm sorry.
Was he in Central City and the lightning hit him in this universe?
Listen. Right. First of all, even if Clark didn't use his super speed...
He didn't, because he took the Ferrari.
Right.
He wanted to run off with
Ferraris are pretty bloody fast.
Right.
And when you've got no inhibitions, you're going to drive it pretty bloody fast.
Yes.
And second of all, that punk was knocked out from a love tap.
Yes.
So Clark had, like, goodness knows how long in advance to get a head start on the dude. So... And Clark,
you know what? We learned in
Superman
Superman and Lois with extended episodes, they cut crucial scenes. So maybe there was a crucial scene where Clark got a flat tire. He had to change it, and it took some time. Yeah. So maybe that's a crucial scene.
Or he went to the salon for a coffee.
Yeah, maybe.
Either way, I'm
calling
total BS on him showing up.
I did forget. I wanted to say this, and I forgot. And I know that we're going back a little bit, but when he drove off with Jonathan and Martha in the Ferrari. So Tom Welling was supposed to just drive slowly away because, on the camera you can't tell the difference. And he gunned it and kicked up all those rocks and everything.
Was that so you couldn't see the stunt double?
There's no stunt double, no. No, he did. He actually drove the Ferrari. So. He probably wanted to see what it could do because he probably didn't get to drive a Ferrari before.
Okay, so I've got a couple of clips for that scene.
Just like my dad. Always telling me what to do. I don't listen to him. What makes you think I'm going to listen to you? In here? Doesn't really matter. I'll figure it out one way or another.
Ooh.
I feel bad for Clark when the ring is gone right after this scene because a man died. Because Clark drew them all to that house.
Mm-hmm. So
he was surprised by the murder. I mean, yeah, that Marshall, I'm sorry, Jesse's father did not hesitate, did he? Although he was really nervous about the whole situation. He didn't really want to kill anyone, but he was that scared. He just shot that guy.
I just wonder how Clark and they don't deal with this in the show, but you got to think the Clark that they've set up would have to deal with that. Like, in some way, he'd feel guilty about the fact that guy is now dead. Clark didn't do it. Clark didn't pull the trigger, but that situation existed because Clark brought everybody there.
Yeah, Clark feels guilty about things that he has no control over.
Exactly. Yeah. So I do wonder how he would deal with that.
And in that situation, even if he hadn't been responsible for bringing that guy there, but he was in the midst of it, if he was his normal self, he would have stopped it.
I think it happened behind him.
Yeah.
I don't think because Jesse's dad shot from behind.
Yeah, so he didn't know the dad was there. But if he was his normal self, like normally he hears it because you always see him react in bullet time, and he's like, "Oh, catch!"
Yeah.
You know,
he always goes.
Do that.
Yeah, so he could have heard the
and then
shot.
He's like,
"Oh man, that's the best impression of bullet time on Smallville I've ever seen."
And Tom Willing's comment about the TV was it was really heavy. So
it was a big TV.
It was. Those TVs were heavy, and I saw that. I was like, whoa.
Oh, they are. I've still got a big one here that, big old-fashioned TVs.
Oh, man.
Not LCD, yeah.
Where it's as deep as it is tall. It's
yes.
I don't miss those at all.
Yeah, that TV's going to date this episode in just a few more years.
It's just... Yeah.
So Jessie goes on the run. She's got the discs with her, and Clark goes after her. But just after he gets to her and he's about to take them from her, who shows up but our boys, Jonathan and Pete. Yeah.
Pete. Wait, what's that Pete impression you got? Do that Pete impression again.
Pete. It's just a funny guy. It's Pete. They show up and they.
We've had nothing but love for you. That makes what I'm about to do all that more difficult. Pete, do it.
Now, I love the moment right before that, where Clark is taking the discs out of Jesse's purse, and he says, "I never realized how easy it would be for me to get anything I ever wanted."
Yes, that's a great line. I agree with that. It's tough to choose these clips sometimes.
Oh, it is tough. But it's a powerful moment where he says that because it's like, wow, he could do whatever he wants, and it's amazing how much we have to have self-control. But when you think of somebody like Clark, who is a god among men, the type of self-control that he has to have, incredible.
Yeah, and this episode highlights that. Leech and this one, I think, are some of the best examples of highlighting what kind of self-control he really has. We take that for granted when we watch the show, and then we see moments like this, and we realize how easy it would be. And although he did choose the money over the girl in this situation,
well, he did mention earlier about with my powers, I could make millions in sports and everything. Yep. So he did mention it earlier, yeah.
It is something that would have to cross your mind every once in a while. If you've got those powers and your family's on hard times, there's got to be that thing in the back of your mind where it's like, I could literally go out and get that money right now. I could do a Peter Parker and go to the local wrestling circuit and pick up the easiest $20 of my life.
Well,
I'll go down pit and find some coal.
The phrase locks keep people honest, right? So they're for good people that, that way you don't have to have that total self-control all the time. Well, imagine not only is there no locks for Clark, but he could go in and out without ever worrying about anyone seeing him. And doing it so fast, there'd be no way to trace him. He wouldn't have to deal with any consequences to doing it. And
well, that's what happened to. That's what happened to Bart. He was doing that, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Clark turning him around. Spoiler alert.
I was just thinking of that scene, how he could, like, he stole that page from Luthor because he's running so fast, and it's like, yeah, and Clark has, like, infinity times more power than Bart.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the term, guys.
The super speed alone, you know.
Yeah,
I gotta say, that Pete and Jonathan really planned that taking down of Clark to absolute precision, timing, perfection, because it's like they knew exactly what he was going to do, and then he just brings that sledgehammer down right on the ring. Boom.
How did Jonathan know Clark would block by punching? Like, I don't block things by punching what I'm blocking.
Well, you don't have his powers.
Well, that's a very solid point. I'm not Superman, so I don't think that way.
I personally am not going to stop a sledgehammer with my fist, because that wouldn't make much sense. If I was Clark, on the other hand.
Yeah, but why would he could just take the sledgehammer out of his hand? Although he had the green kryptonite.
Well, Mercenary X84 asked a good question there. Shouldn't Clark's hand be hurt by the sledgehammer? And I think it's a legit question because of the green kryptonite.
But also, when you've been living with those powers all your life, you're gonna be going off reflex. If your natural instinct is to do that, after 10 years or so of learning that, then I think,
Yeah, but probably not a punch. It'd probably be more of a block. Although that CGI scene was not good. Sorry.
Well, it was the early 2000s, and it was a TV show.
Early Smallville CGI was often.
It's not just that. It's that, he stops, and then the sledgehammer.
Yep.
Have you noticed as well that the band
slow motion
completely
shards
disappears?
Coming out of
Yeah.
So it's like he smashes the red rock in it, but then as it smashes, you realise his finger is completely clean. There's no band or anything. It's like it really was a crap ring. Basically, the company that made that thing,
$350.
they weren't taken down. Yeah.
You know what's always confused me about red kryptonite? He doesn't have to touch green kryptonite. If he's in the room, he's sick. But it always seems red K, it has to be on with a ring or a necklace, but it's like gotta be touching him. And I'm like, isn't kryptonite? Like, if he's just in the room with it, wouldn't that be enough?
Yeah.
It gets worse in the season 2 finale when he goes to get the ring and.
Yep. And that's actually what I was thinking.
He has it in his pocket, doesn't he? I mean, it's just because he's not wearing it.
His pocket's still pretty darn close to his body.
Anything.
I mean, it has to touch his skin, but he holds it in his hand. That doesn't even count.
No.
It was in his shirt pocket.
Oh yeah, and then they have the encrustations in his
and then he takes his shirt off, and he's back to normal. He wasn't even wearing it.
So they were not consistent.
Again, making out with a girl in front of Lana. Gosh, why does Lana go out with him later when he made such a show of making out in front of her twice this season?
I want to talk about that when we get to the last scene.
Anyway, we're coming up to an hour and a half, guys. Let's see if we can get this before we hit that 1 hour 40-minute mark. Come on. Right, so
bring it home. Bring it home, Brian.
One of my favourite scenes of this episode, as is often the case, stick Lex and Lionel together and they just give us gold. But I just love the exchange here between the two of them.
You told me to stop feeling sorry for myself. These were the cards fate had dealt me, and it was best that I accept it and move on. Stop acting like your blindness gives you an excuse for self-pity.
Burn!
Awesome.
Burn!
Yeah. Burn.
That's twice in this episode, Lex.
Yoink. Yeah, I love that scene. I just love when Lex owns Lionel. It's always a pleasure. But yeah, from there.
Well, can I just say what great advice?
It is great advice. It is. It's fantastic advice. See, and Lex got that from Lionel. He learnt that fantastic advice from Lionel. So his parenting wasn't a complete waste of time. There is some value. Yeah, there's mostly a waste of time, but
well, he taught him strategy and.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be one of the best villains if it wasn't for Lionel's teachings. And so in order to be the best at anything, he was good at teaching him some things. Morals was not one of them.
Even if it was all quotes from Alexander the Great.
Yeah. So, the art of war and all that. But okay, so
Marcus Aurelius.
Clark has a conversation, slightly uncomfortable conversation with his mum and dad, in which they talk about everything that's gone on and the latent feelings that clearly Clark must deal with on a daily basis.
When I put that ring on, I felt this sudden urge to tell the whole world my secret. Lex, Lana, Jesse.
But you didn't, Clark.
I know, but the feelings are still there. It's like I have these two identities and I don't know which one's the real me.
I think the answer to that is that they're both you, Clark.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that, and it's the same with everyone. It's like the lesson of the show, I think, is that we're all people of duality. We're all people who can go this way or that, and it's all about choices. Mm-hmm. What choices are you going to continue to make? And Clark is traditionally the guy who makes the right choices, and this is the first time that he's had that experience, forcibly so, of making the wrong choices and enjoying it. And it's a new experience for him, but it is within him. It is there. It can be brought out of him if he was taught the wrong lessons. So, yeah.
Well, I think that's an important lesson for everyone, that even someone good like Superman has sometimes thoughts that aren't great, and that it's the choices that we make. Do we choose to feed into those feelings and those thoughts, or do we choose not to? And that's something that I had to learn as a child, because I didn't understand that I had these thoughts. And it's good to know that everyone does. And I love that immediately after the ring, the look on Clark's face was he's just so defeated.
In the words of Batman from Batman Begins, it's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me. So, yeah.
Also, he admits that, while he does feel like he's missing out, I mean, not everyone thinks about money and wanting more money. He understands the value of his family. Yeah. It's another great lesson, Friday night special.
Yep.
Yeah. I also feel for Jonathan in that scene, because you can see in him that, I think, the disappointment that he can't offer Clark everything that he would like, that he is limited by his humanness, his humanity, by the fact that he is just a regular person and that they don't have much money, and that they're just a regular family. I think it's again well played by John Schneider. I think a lot of that stuff comes out of his performance. It's not all just there in the script, but
it's very relatable to a lot of parents.
Absolutely. And then we get the closing scene of the show, in which I really like Lana in this scene. My only problem with this scene, my only problem with this scene is that this behaviour from her doesn't continue for long enough after this episode, because after everything Clark has done to her in this episode without offering any explanation, I think she should be seriously pissed at him for a long time. But anyway, there's a nice exchange that looks a little bit something like this.
I wanted to apologize. I was hoping maybe we could be friends like we were before.
So you thought that if you brought me flowers, I'd pretend like nothing happened?
Yes, and she did. And like nothing happened an episode later.
Not really. No,
not right.
Not really. But
very quickly, she's fine.
Yeah. I have a couple things. First of all, it kind of bothers me a little bit, because everybody else in this show gets the excuse of, oh, you weren't yourself, so we don't have to worry about any consequences for what you did. I mean, Nicodemus, I could go on and on how many times these characters weren't themselves. And it was very obvious that Clark was not himself. Yet no one said, oh, Clark's not himself, so we have to do. No, it's, all of a sudden we're going to be mad at Clark. And this also happens in Transference. Bothers me there too. Because why is he the only character that gets consequences for
because when you have an episode like Nicodemus, the whole town knows that the person's bad behavior is because of that Nicodemus flower. They have something there, a smoking gun, where they can say, look, scientific proof that the reason you were a complete knob is because of this here flower. Whereas Clark can't turn to Lana and say, oh, I was on Red K.
Why not?
Okay. Because
that's giving away a secret. He can't.
How? You know, green kryptonite affects humans, does it not? In different ways.
It gives them powers. It gives them powers. But then if Clark suddenly changes his behavior because he's got a red kryptonite ring, and yet nobody else changed their behavior because they're on red kryptonite.
Chloe would be straight on that, investigating, going, why is Clark different? It's same when he wasn't.
Chloe would never give it a rest. Chloe would never give it a rest.
Affected by the, the love potion. It's like,
well, why does he have to know what affected him? Why does he have to know? What? It's just saying something must have affected me and it wore off.
No, sorry. If you were back in school and the guy that you had a mega crush on for ages, who was just the nicest guy, always there for you, finally comes to you and says, let's go out on a date, and he takes you to the dirtiest scummy bar ever, gets into a fight, dances with another girl, essentially treats you like a piece of meat and says, just wait there, pretty girl, you would want an explanation. You would be like, no, sorry, simply saying I wasn't myself is not going to cut it. What drug were you on? I want to know. What's been slipped in there?
And weird things happen all the time.
It's flaming crimson.
No.
When Jimmy says, oh, you let Clark off for, not being himself.
See, the simplest thing for Clark to have done, and it would require lying, but hey, Clark lies all the time, let's face it. The simplest thing for Clark to have done was to say, I got Nicodemus. Okay? The Nicodemus flower reared its ugly head once more, and I got hit with it. You know what that's like, so can we please brush past it? But he doesn't. Instead, he's like, I can't say anything, I just wasn't myself. And if I was Lana, I mean, flipping heck, Nicole, I'm defending Lana here. This is how bad it gets. I'm defending Lana.
I understand why
Check
she would
yourself.
be pissed, but I'm just irritated why, everyone else always gets off scot-free when they act worse sometimes.
Well, what episode is it with Jonathan Taylor Thomas? The reason I like that episode with Jonathan Taylor Thomas where he splits into two, I love it because they all treated Clark like he was the jealous boyfriend, and Clark called them on it. So the justice you're calling for in this episode, it comes. And I loved it because it was Clark, free of red kryptonite, standing up for himself against Lana and Chloe and saying, you can't treat me like an ex-boyfriend when none of us have dated. So quit it.
That's true.
I just want to reinstate just reinstate the fact that this is one of those rare instances where I'm on Lana's side right now. Okay, take that nugget, hold on to it, put it close to your chest, because it ain't gonna come many times after this. I can tell you.
I'm in between. I'm not against Lana here. I'm just a little irritated at why didn't Clark come up with some sort of lie.
It sounds like you're on the Lana hate train there, Nicole.
No, I'm not.
It sounds like you're on the Lana hate train. I think we're going to have to get you a T-shirt.
I'm irritated at the situation.
Hashtag Lana hate.
Clark should have come up with a lie, all right? He should have come up with a lie. Because it's very obvious that after this moment, he's back the way he was before. So it's not like there's little tinges of him being like that after. It's, sudden change in his behavior, sudden change back. So
exactly. So explain that to me, Clark. Give me an explanation as to why you were suddenly
must have come into contact with something and it wore off.
Like what? Like what? Show me the Nicodemus flower. Man. Come on. Where is it?
I'm being so good right now.
It's just, I'm sorry. I'm with Lana on this one. It's take it when you can get it. But yeah, we'll leave it at
Have we
that.
had any more good comments?
Right. Okay. Grades. I'm going to go round the clock. Durban, you're up first. Out of 5, what do you give Red?
You know what? I'm going to give it a 4. It's not a perfect episode, but I really love it. It's hilarious. It's hilarious to see him on Red K. It's also very cool to have another episode to show you how good he is and in control he is. And I love those few moments where he does ask Lana on a date, where he is honest with what he's feeling, and he's so, well, clumsy, but smooth clumsy, you know? So, I don't know. It's fun to watch.
Lisa?
Are we allowed halves?
Yeah, you're allowed halves, but you're not allowed 7.3s and things like that.
7, 7, 3, 4. 3.5.
3.5?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Nicole?
Yes, so it wasn't for that last scene. It just hurts. So that's the one thing that holds me back to a 4.
Wow. I'm actually going to give this the highest rating out of all of us.
Oh.
Now,
because you love Lana.
Before I watched it again for the sake of tonight's show, this was a 5-star episode for me. But because I've always just had a blast with it. But obviously, when you do these things, you sit down, you watch each scene, and you make notes, and you kind of analyze them in a lot more detail. And because of that, there are a few. It's not, like Durban said, it's not perfect. That the whole thing with the U.S. Marshal getting there at the same time as Clark. I'm sorry, no, that's the biggest contrivance for the sake of story ever. He didn't need to be there, quite frankly. They just wanted to tie that character up and get rid, but it just didn't need to be there. So I'm gonna give this a 4.5 out of 5 because I still think it's got brilliant character dynamics, family dynamics between the Kents. Pete is flipping useful.
Yes.
Pete is actually a good, solid, strong
Pete,
character that has a point. Lana actually gets my sympathy. That I'm actually on her side for once. So yeah, I think it is close to perfect. Other than that stumbling block towards the end with that U.S. Marshal, it's a really great episode. So I'm going to go 4.5 out of 5.
Nice. I'm on the fence between going up to 4.5. I'll just say it's really hard when you. It's hard. I just have these feelings. They're very strong, and it just holds me back. And it has nothing to do with quality of the show. It's just personal taste. That's all I'll say.
Okay, I think you need to have a word with your husband about those feelings. But anyway, we'll move on.
Fictional characters! They're fictional! Trust me, he gets plenty of benefit.
Okay, we're definitely moving on now. All right, so if you have enjoyed tonight's episode, then please do check out our other content. We've got a few other episodes up. We are also going through the new Superman and Lois TV show, which we are enjoying. We've got a couple of episodes up of that. Thank you for watching tonight. If you have any particular episode in mind that you would really like to see us do, then please do leave it in the comments. Especially hypnotic. If you want us to do hypnotic, send a vote. Like I say, look out for the what's the collar tab, the community tab on the channel. If you go to the channel homepage and click on the community tab, there will be a poll up there in the next few days which will ask, well, have 4 options. One of them will be hypnotic. But yeah, feel free to vote.
I feel like they're going to choose it just to bother me.
Feel free to vote on that and decide what our next episode is going to be. Thank you for watching tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure, and look at that. we've crossed the 1 hour 40-minute mark again. There just doesn't seem to be a way to bring these beasts down, but whatever. There you go. Thanks for watching. See you next time.